Have you ever wondered what you would do if your peaceful Sunday morning suddenly became one of the darkest moments in history? One second you're watching the calm waters of Pearl Harbor. 5 minutes later, your battleship is exploding beneath your feet, your friends are disappearing into flames, and every decision you make could mean the difference between life and death. This isn't a movie. It isn't fiction. This is the true story of Lou Conter, one of the survivors of the USS Arizona, told through an immersive first-person perspective based on real historical events. I was only 20 years old when I reported for duty aboard the USS Arizona. Like thousands of other young Americans, I had joined the Navy before anyone imagined the world would soon be consumed by war. Life aboard the battleship followed a routine: long watches, endless maintenance, drills, laughter with friends, and quiet evenings anchored in Pearl Harbor. We believed we were serving our country during uncertain times, but none of us expected that Hawaii would become the front line. On December 6, 1941, the Arizona returned to Pearl Harbor after routine operations. The crew was relaxed. Sunday mornings were usually the quietest days aboard the ship. Many of us planned to attend church services or simply enjoy a slower pace before another week of duty. The morning of December 7 began like every other Sunday. The Hawaiian air was warm, the harbor was calm, and the sun had just started climbing over the mountains surrounding Oahu. I was standing my assigned watch near the stern of the Arizona, between the third gun turret and the main deck. From my position, I could see other battleships peacefully anchored nearby. Sailors were beginning their daily routines while cooks prepared breakfast below deck. Nothing seemed unusual. There were no alarms, no warnings, and no indication that hundreds of Japanese aircraft were already flying toward us. The silence of that beautiful morning would soon disappear forever. The sound. At first, it was only distant aircraft engines. That alone wasn't alarming. Military planes flew over Pearl Harbor all the time, but within seconds the sound grew louder, faster, more aggressive. When I looked toward the sky, I saw aircraft diving low over the harbor. Red circles painted on their wings left no room for doubt. They weren't American planes, they were Japanese. Almost immediately, explosions erupted across Battleship Row. Torpedoes slammed into ships nearby while machine gun fire swept across the decks. Men who had been talking only moments earlier were suddenly running for cover. The peaceful harbor transformed into absolute chaos before anyone truly understood what was happening. The Arizona became one of the primary targets. Anti-aircraft guns desperately tried to respond, but the attack had caught us almost completely by surprise. Then, only minutes after the first bombs fell, everything changed forever. A massive armor-piercing bomb struck near the forward gun turrets and penetrated deep into the ship before detonating inside the forward ammunition magazines. The explosion was unlike anything I could ever describe. It lifted the front of the battleship into the air. Steel twisted like paper. Fire exploded through every compartment. I was thrown violently across the deck as the shockwave ripped through the ship. In an instant, more than 1,000 of my shipmates were gone. The morning the blast left the Arizona mortally wounded. Thick black smoke swallowed the sky as burning debris rained across the deck. Flames spread rapidly while the battleship began to settle into the harbor. Around me, wounded sailors struggled to stand, many covered in burns and oil, some instinctively prepared to jump into the water, but the harbor itself had become another deadly trap. Burning fuel floated across the surface, turning the sea into a field of fire. As long as there was time, I helped injured shipmates move toward safer areas and away from the burning oil. Every second mattered. Every decision could save a life. When the water inside the ship reached our legs and the order to abandon ship was finally given, we climbed into lifeboats and began searching for anyone still alive among the wreckage. The USS Arizona sank in only 9 minutes, taking 1,177 sailors and Marines with her. We pulled survivors from the smoke-filled water and rowed toward shore, leaving behind a scene none of us would ever forget. The attack was over, but the work had only begun. For weeks after December 7, I remained at Pearl Harbor, helping extinguish fires and recover the bodies of those who had been lost aboard the Arizona. The smell of smoke and fuel lingered over the harbor, and the destruction served as a constant reminder that America was now at war. Like many survivors, I continued my service rather than returning home. I entered naval flight training, earned my wings in 1942, and became a pilot flying the consolidated PBY Catalina with the famous Black Cat Squadron. Those missions often took place at night over the Pacific, hunting enemy ships in complete darkness. During the war, my aircraft was shot down twice, yet both times I survived and eventually made it back to friendly forces. By the end of the conflict, I had served in the Pacific, supported operations in New Guinea, and later served in the European theater, receiving decorations including the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Navy Commendation Medal with Combat V. The hours that followed were filled with confusion, exhaustion, and silence, unlike anything I had ever known. Smoke continued to rise from the shattered battleships, while rescue crews searched every compartment that could still be reached. The harbor that had been peaceful only that morning was now covered with twisted steel, burning fuel, and the wreckage of ships that had once symbolized American strength. Alongside countless others, I spent days helping fight the fires and recover the men who never made it out. Every face we recognized reminded us that these weren't just sailors, they were friends we had shared meals with, stood watch beside, and laughed with only hours before. Pearl Harbor would never look the same again, and neither would any of us. Many years passed after World War II, but the memory of Pearl Harbor never faded. I spent decades honoring the men who never returned from the Arizona, sharing their stories so future generations would understand the price of freedom and the sacrifices made on that December morning. As one of the last surviving crew members of the USS Arizona, my mission became preserving history rather than fighting wars. The attack on Pearl Harbor changed my life forever, but it also changed the course of American history. More than 80 years later, the wreck of the Arizona still rests beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor as a memorial to those who gave everything. Their sacrifice remains a lasting reminder that freedom is never free, and that the courage shown on December 7, 1941 should never be forgotten. If this story helped you understand what happened aboard the USS Arizona, consider subscribing to the True War POV for more immersive historical documentaries based on real events. Let us know in the comments which true story from World War II you would like to experience next.